Welcome to the Always On Mute podcast, where we know not everyone was born with a mic in their hand or a megaphone in their mouth, but we still have something to say because quiet is still a voice. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Always On Mute podcast. I am Antonia Allen. Pratt.
I'm Dr. Pratt, Martin Pratt. Welcome back. Been a
Welcome.
minute since we've seen each other.
It has been, and I think a lot has been going on. A lot of growth for me, a lot of
Yeah.
observations.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
today I would like to talk about those of us who are introverted and whether or not we can identify other introverts, especially in our
Mm.
children. Yeah,
Yeah. Do we listen? Do we see?
yes.
Yeah.
So I was at an event because one of the things that's happening to me now is because introverts are easily identified because we're quiet. But what I discovered is that there are times when people don't recognize that their own children are introverted, and it kind of blows my mind. So I was out of town at some event conferences this past month, and I was happy to be in the presence of other introverts. But I was carefully monitoring people, right? People, because now I realize I can recognize that when we're the ones who prefer to basically sit in the back of the room and we don't raise our hand, we're just sitting there politely nodding and trying to escape and hide or whatever have you. And I asked someone, I asked them if their child was introverted, and they said no. And I was like, okay, because I thought otherwise, right? And when I did ask the child, they gave me a very, I don't know, like a very strong yes. And I was like, it's like, okay, because I'm not going to, have a conversation to say, well, how didn't you know? Because I feel like if you're introverted, you're supposed to be able to identify in the other person that they are also, right? I mean, how don't you know? How don't you know?
Facts. Why don't you
Yeah,
know?
it's
How you don't
crazy,
know and why you don't know? Why is that?
right?
What's that?
Yeah. Cause and I feel like cause now that I basically just I've immersed myself into this topic. I consider how I was when I was younger, and because I was the quiet person. I was the sibling that was very quiet, while my sister was more rambunctious and tomboy and into everything or whatever have you. My mom is not introverted, but she knows her children. You know what I mean? But it in that moment it made me realize that we are so we have a long way to go to show people I don't know whether to get people to understand who we are, and to identify like the difference, like because sometimes people are quiet because they're tired or whatever have you, but sometimes people are just by nature quiet.
And we were also taught that children should be seen, not heard. So, like, depending on the parent, or depending on the parenting, or the tribe that they come from, that child may not be, just they may be chilling because they was how they were raised to be quiet in the space, even though they might be extroverted.
Hmm.
So especially they, as a parent, as a corporate, not corporate, but corporal punisher, then I'm not saying this. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut because I'm not trying to get beat in front of those people I don't know. Excuse me, excuse me. One time, my parents told me that this is internal, so it's not external, but that I talked from New Jersey to North Carolina nonstop. But I wasn't. Again, it's internal to the family. It's not. I wasn't around a bunch of people. So they
Okay.
use that. My parents always use that to say whenever I'm like, I don't talk a lot. I don't say much. He's like, you talk from North Carolina, from North Jersey. So it's like, yeah, but that wasn't around anybody I didn't know, and uh, I'm a nerd, and not now, but back then I was. I didn't like to have that silence. I felt like there was this long piece of silence. The funny thing, my father was an introvert, and by birth, like he was born that way.
Hmm.
But I always thought I was extroverted because we would have these long, uncomfortable silences, and I would always be the one to break it. So that meant that I was always, I thought I was extroverted. until I left home and then went to live in New York and realized that yeah, I don't like living with people and I don't really like sharing space among folks. And I love Sundays in New York because my Sundays in my neighborhood, nobody came around. Like
Yeah,
there's, it was just dead, and I love that. Someone said you're like an old Jewish New Yorker who wants to get the bagel on Sunday and nobody be in the bagel shop. I was like, yep,
yeah.
that's pretty much me. Yeah.
It's true. You know what's crazy? My mom experienced the full Antonia because like you, like you, when I'm with her, she be
That's
like,
funny.
"You can't stop talking," and I think to myself, I don't talk a lot, only to you, because like
Your
if I'm
family. Hmm.
yeah, and if I'm around people, like if I'm speaking to my mom and someone walks into the room, I immediately lose my voice, and that basically is my cue to basically exit. Yeah, because yeah, like I really the other day somebody told me that I remind them of Wednesday from the Addams Family, and I say, you know what? I always like that girl
I
because
guess.
she doesn't talk, like she
Yeah.
always had like a
Mm.
sour face. Like my first passport picture is like this.
I think that's I don't know. That's a bit much. Wednesday. I don't know, but I guess that's a
Wednesday was always dry, and I'm always dry. Like if you don't know me, like
yeah.
I'm
I guess. I
yeah,
guess.
I'm actually acknowledging the fact that people who do not know me will
Get you
be
wrong. Yeah.
yeah, oh, for all the time, because the thing is it's like I've been accused of being like mean and
Right. Right.
antisocial, which is the norm. I'm intimidating, and I'm like, I'm the nicest person you would ever know.
Who is social? That should be a title of our next one, like or a side piece conversation. Is like what's social? So what's the opposite of antisocial? So social. So to me, that when someone says you're antisocial today, maybe not in the '80s, but today it means that I take that as a badge of honor because social people today are too they expose themselves and everything else around them too much. So the opposite of antisocial today is somebody who is vomiting the mouth, taking selfies every time they turn around, even in the bathroom. Like it's time to retire these bathroom selfies where you're like it's time to retire them. Like that's for what?
So I
There's
don't.
one guy,
Yeah.
what's his name? Justin. I forget his name. Jared, no, the light skinned guy with the glasses and the mustache. He kind of looks like not Method Man,
Glover,
huh?
like Daniel Glover. He looks like Daniel.
Or Method Man.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
Not he's that's about that's the only person I know that should still do the bathroom video in the mirror. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, hey, let that go, please. Come on. So antisocial means to me that you actually have some emotional intelligence about when to speak and when not today, versus like maybe
Today,
20
I
years
think.
ago you said
Yeah.
antisocial. But today it's like, no, I'm not anti anything. I'm just me. Like this.
I'm just me. I don't like people because so for me, right? I feel like the opposite of antisocial is social butterfly, right? So
Right.
I
And it's
imagine
over. It's over. It's too much. Like, stop.
no, but I imagine a person walking into the room and saying hi, like they're
And you
the
smell their no, before they get to you, you smell the perfume. You already smell
so
the perfume and you know, oh, that's Lisa. Okay. It's here.
and then to be fair, they walk into the room and you're like, oh my god, like they in my opinion they suck the energy out of the room because it's like it's just overbearing. And
Or everybody puts the wall up.
yeah,
They either suck the air out or we all go Lisa's here.
like I gotta go. But you know what? They're needed because to be fair, I prefer them. Like I don't mind them because then if they're there talking, that means that I don't have to talk.
You can exit. We can exit. We can leave now.
That part.
we can
That
go
too.
now. She's
That
here.
too.
Life of the party. Gotta go. Life of the party's here.
That too.
It's almost time to leave now that Lisa has arrived.
Right. Yeah. Because some
Sorry,
people
Lisa.
they
Whoever
really do
listening.
like they it's almost as if like they thrive being the center of attention. They thrive, and for me, I can do that.
Yeah.
And, like it's funny because like
Yeah.
now that I'm this past week, I don't know what my spirit is preparing me for. But
Mm-hmm.
this week, on Monday when I got off the train, I was walking to the office. I was listening to some reggae music, some like the
Mm.
conscious one, like not the '90s reggae one, like the more like like the
Yeah, like
Rastafari.
the '80s, like real reggae.
Well, no, because
Oh
Chronix
no.
is from basically present, but it's
Okay,
like
okay,
he's
okay.
more like the Bob Marley type.
Yes, well,
And
that's what I meant. I meant Bob
yeah,
Marley. Yes, exactly.
yeah. And so I decided to stop and dance. So I'm sitting there basically dancing and I'm
Mm,
recording it. And at this point, I didn't care who
mm,
was around. And
mm,
I observe
mm,
how much I've grown,
mm,
right?
mm,
Because back in the
mm,
day,
mm,
that would not have been me. I would have not
mm.
done that, and I would have been too concerned about like who's watching, and I would grab my camera and run away like if I saw somebody coming. But in this moment, I decided, you know what? I'm gonna do this. And so I posted, I said, warning. I think I captioned it, warning, grooving in the morning. And I did that every day
Mhm.
this week, and posted it on my original channel and on my YouTube channel, Antonia's Blissful Corner. And I realize how much I have grown because I'm at the space now where I'm okay with being me. I'm okay with basically showing the
Yes,
world who
yes,
Antonia
yes,
is, right?
yes.
So yesterday, and I felt like I said to my mother yesterday that I don't know what is going on in the atmosphere for me. Like, I don't know what my spirit is preparing for me, but yesterday for me
Mhm.
was a celebration because I did my morning dance, and then afterwards, like, I'm in the garden, I'm dancing again. We went to Costco and I'm dancing again, and the music is just there. I got home and I'm doing more, and the whole day, even when I turned off my light to go to bed last night, I was still basically dancing to these songs. And
Boop, boop, ba-doop,
I,
boop, ba-boop, boop, ba-doop, boop, boop, ba-doop, boop, ba-doop, boop, boop.
I thought about how important it is for people to be comfortable in their own skin so that they can experience life. Because the thing is,
Mm.
we come this way but once, and I
Amen.
yeah, we come this way but once, and so therefore it's so important
Amen.
to just be comfortable being you. Like, do you? You know what I mean? Like, if you want pink, purple, or blue hair, have at it. Have at it. Um,
That takes a certain amount of self. Uh, I guess I don't say intuition, but a certain amount of self reflection.
mhm,
And I think I wish I had that. I wish I had that when I was in my 20s. When I got to 29, then I started to realize, like, all this other BS, holidays, jumping through all these hoops and stuff, was just me performing because I felt like I had to.
mhm.
And then my ex had made so much fun of me being a introvert or shy that I exploded for a year or two, and then I was like, nah, this is not me. So yeah, I think that having that being able to reflect on who you are internally really helps you to grow,
Yeah,
but also stabilizes you too.
yeah,
So it's an interesting dichotomy if you're not. Um, I'm hoping my hope is for 2025 is that it helped. This whole situation
yeah.
has helped some people to really start to be more self-reflective about what's important. Actually, I saw something the other day. I was like, "Oh, this is really good." I really want us to have our own land. When I say us, I mean our community in general. But
Mhm.
I know everybody's not going to have your own land, so it's cool. That said, I do though want us to really acknowledge that we need to touch grass. We need to um, grow something, whatever that is. I don't know, some flowers, some whatever.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to grow something. And then we also need to figure out where power comes from. Like
Hmm.
we need to stop. Like it's not PSG kind of. That's not that's somebody selling you power. So like that whole, I have a generator. Here's a sun panel or a solar panel.
Hmm.
It comes to a battery. Okay, it takes me 8 hours to charge up that battery from the sun, or 12 or 32. So that means if I got one battery and a battery only lasts an hour, I need to have 17 batteries so I can have a whole day's work. Yeah.
Yeah.
My point in saying all that to say is that I feel like people are, not so much exactly now, but for the most part, people were spending money on. Once you start to realize, I need food, I need power, and I need to be near my people. And those three things, can we create our own spaces, or not, I mean, stop to create our own spaces, but have land near family or near whatever we call, family or whatever. And then having something to eat and then having power. I feel like we can create those three things. And I think now people are starting to realize, oh, what's really important. One of which, to do all this stuff, you have to be self-reflective. You can't
Mhm.
be caught up in a lot of outside things, because you need to decide, where you want to live at, what you want to grow, and then, what you're going to do about power. Because
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think for me, the whole growing thing was a part of yesterday because I was harvesting some of what I planted in the backyard. So I was
oh yes,
basically,
that's what you
yeah. I had
did.
like it was the photo that I took was this beautiful, colorful array of peppers and tomatoes,
Mm,
and
mm,
I even had a watermelon.
mm, mm.
I was experimenting with watermelon, and I was so
Yes.
great. I'm grateful that I'm able to do that. And one of the things that I love about summer in New York, well, summer period, is that I'm able to do that, and that I've grown to appreciate nature enough that I'm
Yep.
basically like this is part of my therapy. Because
Yep.
I was outside barefoot all day yesterday, just basically like just I don't know, like it was great, right? And I
Mhm.
realize a lot of people do not take the time to because there are people that they're not into gardening or they don't really like nature or to
Nope.
have you. But it's so
Nope.
important to be grounded though. It's so important, to your point, like you have some people who are still performing. They don't even know who they are. Right? So therefore like they get up and they're trying to basically like just fit in. And I'm so over that. Like I'm so over trying to do what they, expect that we're supposed to be doing. I'm okay with basically being who I am,
Right.
walking the way that I feel like walking. For Jamaican Independence Day, I colored my hair green. I colored my hair green. and
Yes.
it was fun.
That's what's
Like,
up.
yeah, it was fun. And when I see people on the street now, like when I was out of town when I went to the conference and I saw this a young girl, and she had braids and they were different colors, and I smiled inside and I thought about how important it is to basically be comfortable enough with yourself that you can just be expressive. And
Mm.
for her to be that way, that means that her mother is encouraging her way to be herself, right? Because I think that that's part of what, like our generation didn't have is the basically just the self-expression. Because
Yep.
if you have too many earrings over here, you're weird. If you have, what I mean, like you were basically like just placed in a category if you weren't like what they considered normal. But my thing is, I feel like everyone is weird in some capacity. You know what I'm saying? Because if you do anything different from the norm, you're weird. I'm weird. I don't care.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. Yes. That part. That
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. Weird and don't care.
Um.
But yeah.
So I think that one of the takeaways as we reach, the end of summer and going into fall is to really and be prepared for this winter, whether it's bad winter or it's a Indian summer or what have you, and just get ready for more of the garbage we already had. Uh, we're going to have to become way more introspective. And at the same time, I think your experience this weekend, what you experienced, you told me, talked to me about, which I definitely want us to go into next, is, you know, there's going to be opportunities that's going to be availed because of people a lot more being self-reflective. There's going to, and especially people that care about you, there might be a lot more opportunities for you. And so the question will be, will you take advantage of them? And even if you're pressed or pushed outside of your comfort zone, will you be open enough to see, hmm, this might be an opportunity for myself and my goals. So let me avail myself versus being typically standoffish and
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and blocked, and I can't take this.
Yeah. I think, so we're wearing our brand like always on mute, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's one of the things I think that we as the introverted community pride ourselves in that, like we are okay with being on mute, right? Because like I told you,
Every day, all day,
not
every
everyone
day, all
was
day.
born. Well, not everybody was born with a mic in their hand and a megaphone in their mouth. But the
Right.
reality of it is, now is the time for us to find our voice, and we
Yes.
should use it, as needed.
Yes.
It's no more like
Mm-hmm.
basically like, because as I told
Mm-hmm.
you how this weekend I was invited to go to an event. Everything that I've been invited to in the past month, I didn't want to go, but I was so happy that I forced myself
Who
not
doesn't
to
want to
go to
go?
the weekend.
Who doesn't want to go? I mean, who wants to go to? Who
Oh,
wants to
the
go?
the social butterflies want to go on. They everywhere. The social
Mm,
butterflies, like, they don't want to
mm,
stay home. Like, when people ask me on Monday, how was your weekend? I have to think about it. I was like, oh, it was great. And they're like, you have to think about it. Like, yeah, I have to remember what I did. Nothing.
right. Right.
Oh, yeah.
I did. It was great. I did.
I did
No.
nothing. But I was invited to go to a networking event, and my business partner said, take with you business cards and T-shirts. And I was like, at first I was like, oh, I have an appointment, I have a meeting, because I'm always trying to find excuses not to go. And my spirit was like, we're not doing this. My spirit was like, we're not doing this. And I ended up going.
Right.
And as soon as I got in his car, I was like, so what time are we? What time do you usually leave, like, to go home? And these are just typical introverted behavior. Like, before we get there, we want to know, we want our exit plan, right? And I said to him, I said, I'm
This is
only
door.
going
This
to
door.
observe. I'm not participating. I'm just going to observe. And next thing you know, I was holding a mic talking about my business.
But I think though that you did, besides you pushing yourself, you felt confident and not typical, atypical how Antonia would show up. I do think that you have. So I think in your mind, you're this really standoff person, and I think you are to some degree. I agree, I get it. But I do also think that because of the type of work that you do, it deals with the public in some form or fashion, and then being at Caribbean festivals and march parades or what have you, um, or celebrations. I think there's levels to this, and I don't think you're level 5.
Mhm.
I think you're like a level 3 or a level 2.5, and then but because a level 2 and 3, a level 3 going up, because you can come up for certain things. You can come up and be like an introvert 1, which is just like,
Mhm.
hey, how's it going? Yeah, and do your selfie or whatever, and then you're done, and then go back down to 3. But if you're a 5 down in the basement, you ain't coming up to 3. You can maybe come up to 4, and
I
that's it.
guess.
Like I'm done. But it also could be too that so this is what gets, I don't say weird, but interesting. Some, I guess, is interesting. Is that does the introvert have goals? And all the introverts that I read about, and that's the thing, they all have something in common. Those the ones that are public, which is that they do aspire to do dot 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 whatever that dot dot dot, and that does take them outside of the introvert zone. But I don't think that the introverts is past a 4 or 4 or below
Yeah.
can. I think they need real help and real support
Yeah.
to come up to a 3.
Yeah.
And I think that Antonia's and you trained yourself internally enough, maybe not 5 years ago or 7 years ago, but is enough inside of you that says this is battle that happens that says should I okay
Listen,
fine all right,
listen.
and
If it weren't for I will say this: if it weren't for the fact that I have a business that I'm trying to run, the T-shirts, because they're not
you're
going to
running.
sell
You're not
themselves.
trying to run. You're running
Right.
because you're doing it.
Right.
You do
And
like this
so
is
so
proof. This
so right.
this is beautiful work. It doesn't. You see this arm? See how tight that is? It's not. It's not. It's soft. It's like so soft. That's not trying.
No,
Now, if you
no,
gave me
no,
a
no, no, but
hard,
no, but
if
that's the
you heard
thing,
my
right?
face, you don't even
If
hear my face on the my rough. What's in it? No, but seriously, like people don't understand my t-shirt. If it's a rough t-shirt, you would hear.
right,
This is
yeah,
this is soft. See that soft? Oh, so soft, like a
no, no,
pillow
it is.
blanket, pillowcase. So I'm just saying, that's not trying. That's not
No,
trying.
no. So,
That's
so,
doing it.
so the thing is, right? If it weren't for the fact that I, to your point, have goals, like, I decided to become the introvert whisperer because I didn't like the way that people who do not understand the community treated us, right? Like, like we're these invalids, that need help. And if it weren't for the fact that I have this business that I'm running, like, so the t-shirt business, and me,
Mhm.
becoming the
Mhm.
face of, like
Mhm.
the introverts, then
Mhm.
I wouldn't mind staying in the house. Like this weekend, like it was just me and my mom, and my mom has gotten accustomed to her weird daughter, who basically does weird things, and
That's funny.
it amuses her. Like like when I do my dances in the morning when I'm at work, I send them to her, and she cracks up like these things. And for me, that's the whole point, is to basically spread joy, right, in my own
That
little way.
you know what I love that about for you and her,
Hmm.
that you have that relationship. I think that's it. We said we're going to talk to her as invite her on as a guest, because I
There you
think
go.
that I think a lot of times you don't have this conversation about the people in the introvert's life that do allow them to be themselves, and
Hmm.
what does that look like from the other side? Which you're talking about how it looks from your side, which is great. I'm always curious about how it looks on the other side, and my assumption is that you said she finds humor and joy, and I think about how I look at my 3-year-old, and then when she's 20, whatever she decides, I think she's going to be a shot putter. Believe it's just the way she's built and how she throws balls and stuff. But if she's not, if she's a track, whatever, she's a ballerina, a plus size ballerina, I don't know, whatever. She's got her mother's hips and her grandmother's hips, and she's got this body. She's going to be like, I can already see it. So, but whatever she decides to do, I'm always gonna look at her like, because you as a parent, you look at your child, you're like, some of it reminds you of yourself. So like that's the other part of this. I'm curious on to see, like, does she see herself, her sister, her mom? Who does who's inside of, what DNA that she sees inside of Antonia that
Right.
reminds her, that brings a smile and pleasure to her face.
Hmm.
I see my brother, my daughter a lot. Sometimes, not a lot, but sometimes, and he has this far away look that he does. He's a very much an introvert, and he has this like, he almost like he's trying to figure out, should he say anything to you or not. And at the same time, it's like, why am I even asking myself this damn question? So it's like she has that same far away look that he does. I'm like, wow. So it's a smile, it's a knowing, you know joy that, like, I see my my sibling and my child,
Hmm.
um and then because of that, you're not judging, it's like whatever, it's a pleasure versus oh my god, this kid, so.
Yeah. And so it's funny when I look back at Antonia from the past, right? So I did a meme the other day, and I did it because of a conversation that I had with someone here.
The 90s Antonia.
Please, a couple years ago, Antonia, I told you that during COVID, someone was
the
visiting,
the,
like
two,
family
the
was visiting.
Antonia zero zeros.
Yeah, like during COVID, someone was visiting, and I'll never forget. It was the first Friday it was the first Friday in Lent. Mommy went to church, and I was working because it was month end close. So I was still, like on the clock.
Right, right.
And family was visiting, and they texted me from the basement to say so and so was here, and I said, okay, say hi. And I didn't go down. And when mommy came home, she was like, so and so was here, and I was like, oh yeah, I know. So she's like, you didn't go say hi? I said no. She said, why? Because I said I'm at my house. I don't have to. The old
My
Antonia,
choice.
yeah, the
My
old
choice.
Antonia would have felt like I had to, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
of the social norms. But I don't, like, my cousin tried to call me yesterday, and when I'm home, I really am separated from my phone because I don't walk with the phone. I'm in the house. I
Right.
don't keep the ringer on. And she texts me, and when I did connect with the phone, but well, have the get the phone, she sent me a text, and she was like, your relationship, the way that you are with your phone is worse than I am with mine. And I said, oh, I said I use my phone to take pictures and record videos. I don't use it for the talk feature. So, and the thing is, what happened is, at the end of the text, she mentioned that she was in the area and she wanted to see my face. You can see my face any given day of the week on social media. So I don't do pop-ups, and I'm at a stage in my life now where I am comfortable telling people that. Some people may take offense to it, but I take offense to you wanting to pop up at my house, right, without notice.
Yep.
I'm saying, like, so,
Yep.
I'm at this, that's where I am now. Like, it took a long time for me to basically get here, and I'm fine with it. So the meme that I did was, me lying in the background enjoying a nice summer day, and then somebody pops up and you hear toot toot, and I get up and I run, and then I come back and I grab my towel and my computer and I run inside. That was, the video that I did.
Hmm.
And it was
Hmm.
because I did a video because a friend of the family passed away back
Hmm.
home, and I was
Sorry.
told that this person had visited the house in previous years, and I was like,
Uh,
"Well, I didn't know that's." And they said that's because you always just say hi, you basically do, and you walk away, like you never come to see who it is. And I was like, oh, okay. And the reality of it is we are who we are, and I think that what's important is to embrace who you are, because
hmm.
it doesn't make sense to to pretend as if you like pop-up visitors and pretend as if you're okay with people staying longer than 2 minutes. um I mean, you
It's
know
better just be. It's healthier to be yourself too.
absolutely. So as
Health.
it pertains to mom and who she may see, I often, because I knew my grandparents, like they died when I was young, but I was familiar with them.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I would ask her, who I'm most like.
Hmm.
And I think my grandfather was very patient. That was me, and quiet.
Hmm.
So I feel like
Hmm.
I have more of his attributes than my grandmother.
Hmm.
My
Hmm.
grandmother had no patience.
No time for it. No time for it.
She had no
No,
patience.
no. Mm-mm. Zero tolerance for the weak.
Yep. But it is interesting because it basically goes back to the beginning of the conversation about people and whether or not they're able to identify their child,
Yeah.
and if they're quiet, why are they quiet? And
Hmm.
like, do they classify them as being weird? Because I remember, like, when I first started to learn more about introversion, and I saw videos or read I don't know, read wherever that
Blogs, articles,
some,
right?
yeah, yes, that some parents would say, oh, that's just how they are, or they would say, oh my God, why can't you be more like your brother or your sister? Oh my God, so, oh, you know what I mean? And the thing is, what I in as in the, as today, I recognize
Hmm.
that that's a sure way for me to basically introvert more. If I feel
Yeah,
like
that's
you're
right.
pressuring me,
Exactly.
you're
Not
not going
making
to get me to talk if you're pressuring me.
not making me feel like doing anything.
You
In
know what I'm
fact,
saying?
you know what? As soon as I can leave, I'm out.
Yeah. And so that's that, I feel like that's the problem. Like, a
100,
lot of
2,000.
children, yeah, are misunderstood. And so they choose to basically like just stay locked up in their room. They have no friends, or none that the family know, right? Because they just feel judged.
Yeah.
Everything that I do is wrong. So why am I gonna, say this, or because it's gonna be wrong anyway? Because we're awkward. We
And
do
why would I
awkward
introduce
things.
you? Why would I introduce somebody that cares about me? You're my blood, but you don't seem to care as much about me as this person who's not my blood. Why would I introduce you to them? Even if they're toxic for me, at least they care about me and
Yeah,
don't consistently tell me I'm wrong
right.
for being me.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
sadly, that's how a lot of
I
families
also.
raise their children, because then they seek validation or love
Uh
from
huh.
from someplace else, because I'm not getting it here. Like, I'm not getting it here at home, so I'm going to
Yeah.
go where I'm getting it. And because when you think about gangs, that's how it is also. Like, they
Hmm.
want to be seen. We all want to be seen. We want to be understood.
You
But a
want to
lot
be
of
visible. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people don't take the time to learn about their person.
I also think that at least growing up, so the '80s, that a lot of people were not honest about who they are. So they did a lot of projecting their child on their child. Like, why can't you be like so and so? And it's like, because their child's just like you, knucklehead. You don't care. You don't. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if I'm gonna be real with myself, I like to tease my wife, so I'll push her buttons. But for the most, because I always put playing my daughter's personality on her side of the family. But if I'm being real, like I said, she's part my dad, she's part my brother.
Mm.
Um, she has attributes from both grandparents, good and bad. So it's like I see, I see three generations in her on my side, and then I'll tease my wife about her side. But if I'm being honest, you see your people or yourself in your children. It's just and then I think Hollywood made a really bad. I mean, obviously they make bad choices, period. But they make bad choices, period. I think they did a horrible job of portraying the family. Someone needs to do a expose about how they portray the family since the 80s to the 90s to 2000, because it's always these parents that were, you know, unrealistic. The parent was so super cool and super social, and everybody got along with them. Or you know, occasionally they were to ask, like the guy Archie Bunker.
Mhm.
But for the most part, the parents weren't these idiots, but the children were. And it's like, and now I'm thinking about Disney, because I always say I'm not letting my child watch Disney too much, and my older kids I didn't. But I love this term. My my how do you say it? My then wife and my other friend says my husband. So like the was husband.
Yeah.
So my then wife, my ex, she was a Disney kid. She actually worked at Disney World, Disneyland in California. And
Mhm.
so even though she worked at Disneyland, I would say, look, I don't want the kids exposed to these Disney shows because they make the parents look. The parents are gone out of most of the Disney shows, especially in the 2000s. And then I'm sorry to think like now, like, well, this is kind of good that they were like, because sometimes those parents were just in those shows, and then the parents out in the real world were like the same way. You want your child to be Biff and Buffy, you know, like you want them to be the football captain and the head cheerleader, really? Like that? What? You're not the head cheerleader. You don't play football. Like, why do you want your child? Like, let them bowl, let them, whatever. But it's like I play chess, like and Hollywood always portrayed the parent as like, why can't you be more? To your point, and I think that was such a false narrative, and that the people, at least people around me, the parents I knew and the people I knew, even my own parents, they were never like comparative to why can't you be like this. They weren't necessarily embracive of me, my personality either. But at the same time, at least I didn't have a false role model to like
Yeah.
look up to or to be compare myself to.
Yeah.
I did it in my own head for a bunch of different reasons, and mainly because of outside Hollywood uh, media.
Mhm.
But thank God we didn't. Social media is really interesting because on some level, social media does, to me, embrace the weird and the forgotten and the ignored. And the other side of the table, it definitely can be exploited. The kids, when they gang jump on somebody with Snapchat and Instagram. So it's like with everything else in life, it's a catch-22 situation, or maybe not catch-22, good and evil at the same time, yin and yang. But I definitely think the parent conversation is so we got to have that, because like these people, and they just did so much damage to people when they weren't being honest about who they were.
Hmm. I agree. Because the reality of it also, because, I think for us back then, we didn't have a lot of outside interferences because, TV was TV. I was telling somebody the other day that we didn't have cable growing up, right? Because mommy was,
Yep, yep. Me neither.
right.
Me
So,
neither.
so,
Hmm.
so we didn't have all of the distractions that exist now, right? So this is why I'm able to go in my backyard and, frolic and, because
And
I,
then play with caterpillars. What? Pick a
well,
caterpillar
no, no.
for 5 minutes.
No, we don't
No,
do
you don't
that.
want the
We don't. We
caterpillar.
run. We scream and run when we
What
see
about lightning
like.
bugs? You don't grab the lightning bugs and put
Oh,
them in the
so the
yard.
lightning bugs, yeah. So back in the day, yes, the lightning bugs. But I think it's different, right? And I think with
Oh yeah,
social
it's a
media
lot different.
now,
Yeah, it's
huh?
different. I said, yeah, it's a lot different. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's a
different.
lot different, right? Because I feel like with
A
social media
lot, a
now,
lot.
it actually, in my opinion, it hurts more than it helps
Yeah.
because people, because I
Possible.
see where I was watching I saw a YouTube video last week of The View, where Whoopi Goldberg was commending. They played a clip of Rihanna talking about, because the question that was asked of Rihanna on an interview was how her dad would, I guess, like be around, like with his grandsons, like with her
Mm-hmm.
children.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking about like her parenting skills, her parenting style, right? And that her
Mm-hmm.
preference is that she doesn't want her children to be a
Oh
tablet
yeah, I
baby,
remember that. Yeah.
right? And Whoopi Goldberg commended her, because apparently, like, you had some people saying, oh, basically they took offense to the whole tablet baby, and other people like, yes, I agree, blah 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 blah. And I'm on the side of, like, not having that, right? Because I feel as if, like, it's in some cases it can help, but then it also can hurt, right? Because then
Hmm.
you have some children who, instead of a pacifier, they want their tablet. And I think that for me, like, I know for me growing up, we didn't have all of these gadgets and all of that, right? So, and I was already weird. So coming from like a big, coming from a big family, like I used to like to read. I used to like to have my book, go in a corner, and I'm reading. The children of today isn't, like they don't do that. I remember watching a YouTube video where three children, young girls, basically tried to kill their mom because she turned off the Wi-Fi, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So
yeah,
I feel like everything
it's
is just so topsy turvy now. Um, I wish that children, because if you're a quiet person and you're living in a household where you're not understood, it's not.
right.
It just gets worse because then
Yeah,
you're in a place where you're not understood. They're not trying to understand you, and then you basically grow resentment, towards your people, right? Because you feel like you're always being judged. They're not taking the time to understand you. And, for me, when I look back, I wish that I knew that. Well, I don't wish that I knew then what I know now, because I actually love my journey. I love that I'm walking into it now.
hmm,
But I do wish that people would take the time to understand people and their different behaviors, right? Because people are quiet for a myriad of reasons. Sometimes a person could be quiet because they're
right.
just quiet. They could be hungry. You know what I'm saying?
That part.
They could be broke. So it's not always like, they're weird, right? Um, but the reality of it is I do think that it's important for people to understand children in the school, especially in
Everywhere.
school, right? Because then,
Yep.
the whole bullying, because for me, like now that school is, like school is getting ready to start, at least up here. And, like I think about like the children going back to school and some of them who were loners, they didn't have friends. And because when you're by yourself, you're not popular, you're weird, you get bullied, right? And so from there, it's kind of like a decline.
Spiral. Yep.
Yeah, right. And then when you learn that, oh my gosh, they just went and they did what? You know what I'm saying? Because in the end, like they're
Mhm.
basically like just like, well, they don't love me anyway, so I'm gonna just do whatever I want to do. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but
I
it
think on. Oh, go ahead.
no, 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 go on.
No, I was just saying. I think on that note, um, I love what you were able to do with that young person that you met,
Mm-hmm.
and you were able to identify them and see them and be present and
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully that encouraged that parent to who self labels themselves as an introvert. Like I don't know, like I can't as much as I am a black person, black community, I look at my child and I go, wow, she goes up to anybody naturally. Because I have another daughter who's an adult.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't play. She wasn't about. You could come to her stroller or whatever. She would just stare you down, unless something that's your spirit spoke to her. She was like, but
That was
this kid is like totally opposite. So I look at my child and go, on some level she's an introvert. On some level she seems to be very extroverted. So it'd be interesting to see what she ends up growing up.
mm-hmm.
But I see that, like I can't ignore that. So hopefully, what your experience had helped that parent to see their child better, especially since the child affirmatively told you
I
that they
mean,
were introverted. Without any they say, "Yep."
I mean, for me, it was. First of all, I in that moment I was like, "Oh, the introvert whisperer strikes again." Because it's like, like I
That's
specifically
beautiful.
asked, is your child introverted? And they were like, no, I don't think so. And then when I asked the child, yes, and I was like,
And I've been telling him for the past 5 years. It's like,
because it's almost as if like once you're seen, um, once you see something you can't unsee. Once you learn something you can't unlearn it. And I think that for
and when
me,
somebody else acknowledges outside the family, it stays.
right? And then the thing is, it's like, well, where do we go from here? Like now that then what, right? Because then Because it's not a because now
Which is
now
why it was a great thing for you to give them your book,
but yeah.
because at least the child has that to reference and can beat the parent with it. Well, Antonia said,
Yeah. And that's why I
Antonia in
look
her book said,
that's why I look forward to having different types of guests on our show because I think that, with school starting up,
mm-hmm,
the conversation is necessary,
mm-hmm,
especially in the climate that we are in now.
and in
Because
the classroom.
yeah, because it's like, while we are okay with being quiet in the room, be quiet, yes, but be ready to speak also, right? Be ready to
That part.
basically, yeah, be ready to stand up for yourself. Because the
Yep,
reality of it is you will never have an advocate like yourself. Like you are
pretty
an
much.
yeah, you will be your own advocate. So it is very necessary. Sometimes we are wrong. Sometimes people tell untruths on us. Sometimes we are mislabeled or, basically people just have us wrong. And for me, I usually just stay quiet because my thing is just like, look, I'm not gonna waste my energy to correct you or to convince you otherwise. If that's what you want to think or believe, have at it. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes, especially in today's climate, it's very necessary to know your voice, hear your voice, and basically speak.
That part.
Because yeah, because the reality too is children of today, they're smarter than we were. We were dumb. We were dumb. Like we
Well, we
were
also was given less information, so I think that we were. I think that
we were
so.
we, don't get me wrong, we were where we were supposed to be based on the times, but I think these children, because of the tools available to them,
Right,
they're
right.
way advanced than we were, because we didn't know what we didn't know.
But we guessed a lot, and we were right. So that's
Well,
the thing.
no, we had
We had
common
less
sense.
information, and we made some really interesting,
Yeah, no, we
decisions with the
listen.
less information. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I feel like we
you're
had
right. You're right.
common sense.
They,
Yeah, I feel
these
like
kids have way more. But I
huh?
also think these kids. I think the society and environmental has made, because these kids are coming at at 3, and at like the little girl that was the is it was is she's now 10, but she received a full scholarship to South Carolina University for agriculture because her grandmother and her started planting when she was 3, and then at 6 she became the youngest certified Georgia farmer. So
Wow.
you could say that, oh, she had, just smarter, she has more exposure to, but at the same time, I think environmentally, and I don't know, the woo and spirit, but it feels like we have a whole new generation of A's
Yep.
that are primed for the takeover of what this responsibility on their shoulders is going to be so much bigger than ours was.
Absolutely.
And to that point, they also have less gatekeepers, where we had these gatekeepers that were not, even to this day, are still in power. They should not be in power. They're 80 and 90 years old, still trying to hold on to like power when they should have gave that up 20 years
Yeah,
ago
release
when we
it.
were 20 or
Yeah.
30, but when we were 20. But so now the 16-year-olds or the 12-year-olds, when they get to be 20, it's the wild west. Like, you can choose to build your own castle or this,
Yeah.
but you actually will make a difference. We didn't necessarily have those opportunities to really make an impact the way. So I feel like environmentally, the universe has provided us with a bunch of people who are young adults that have the DNA. It's not so much to your point of exposure to knowledge and stuff, but the DNA, they seem to be really passionate, purposeful, or complete f ups. But if
Mhm.
they are, even if they're complete f ups, they're sort of they're 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 effing up in a different way than, you know like Jeffrey Dahmer. I'll say it like
Mhm.
that. They're not, their f's ups are over here in this corner. It's not necessarily.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. It really feels like somebody who's spiritually self-aware, even though it may not be, but it feels like watching them grow up. It feels like, wow, this generation is really spiritually aware of they need to do something, whatever that something is. Whereas I was like, man, whatever. I don't even.
Yeah, we
Right,
didn't care.
right, right.
Like we knew that we had to go to school, we had to do our homework.
After that, I'm getting a car. I'm out of here.
Yeah, in the
Whatever
summertime,
that
go on and
means.
play. These kids over here trying to basically build bots and build this because of the technology that's available to them.
And because they
Um,
know that the sun is coming closer, closer to Earth, and we need things to
yeah,
burn. So it's
I
whatever.
mean, for me, like it's
Like,
always I always marvel at the at when young children are schooling adults. Even about
right.
politics. When I hear like
Facts,
the kids
facts,
like
facts.
saying, "No, that's not the law," and I was like, "Oh, child." Because the reality of it is, even if they're not learning it in school, some of them have the wherewithal to do their own research. Because they're curious, and I think that's the difference. Like
Exactly.
the children of today are more curious than we were. Like, you know, I don't know. Like I appreciate evolution, but it is scary also. It's scary
Yes.
also. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I'm loving the fact that there are children though who are doing it. Like to your point, like the young you said
Farmer.
this
Yeah.
called, yeah, the young farmer. And in the mentorship community that I'm in, there is a brother and sister who their family, like they have like a farm, and he posts things. So he has his children that are basically young, and he's now teaching them about farming. So one of them is a beekeeper, one of them like they bake banana bread, and they're selling it
Yeah.
under their own young, like they're
Yeah. Their
young
brand, their
under
own
their
brand. Right.
brand. And I'm like, this is so wonderful to see, because to your point, like they're like light years ahead of us, in terms of like where we were and what we're doing. So I'm loving the fact that we're learning now as adults what wasn't available to us back then.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
therefore we're able to teach the youth so that they already know that they're already entitled, and they can go and basically be do anything that they want to be do, like whatever
Right.
you want, because I'm now understanding that for myself, in that there isn't any limitations on what it is that you want to do. It's all in what you choose to do, how you choose to do, and
Exactly.
you feel like
Exactly.
you have the energy to basically ride it out, because it can get difficult sometimes, but you can do whatever you want to do. You can be whatever you want to be, even president.
Yes. Apparently. And on that note, we're gonna end it
Yes.
there.
So thank you everyone for tuning in to Always on Mute podcast. Antonia Allen, Dr. Pratt. Um, I don't have my book. I'm like, one second.
Yes, we have to get the book. So what Antonia is doing right now is getting her creative work.
Okay.
Can we see it? There we go. We can see it now. Unlocking the Introvert by Antonia Allen.
Yes, a pocket guide to
See that
understand.
key? See that key? That lock? That key?
Yeah.
See,
Yeah. Because
see,
that's the thing. Like
see what you
we
see?
introverts are powerful, and I'm understanding that now. Like quiet is our superpower. And if you get
Yes.
my book, Unlocking the Introvert, you will see that, and it is definitely a small book, it's a pocket guide, so that you can have it as a tip. So get it for yourself, get it as a gift for someone. And yeah, so on that note, please follow me on Instagram at I am the introvert whisperer on Instagram and on TikTok. You can get my book at societyofintroverts.com. You can get this t-shirt at t-shirtsanddenim.com. Follow Dr. Pratt. Dr. Pratt, where can they follow you?
I am Ask Dr. Pratt everywhere. Finally.
Yay. So
Finally got it everywhere.
yes. And so please remember, not everyone was born with a mic in their hand or a megaphone in their mouth, but trust and believe you have a voice, and it's time that you start to use it. Until next time, please subscribe, like, share, comment below, and we will see you next time.